And this is exactly why I said I'll always remain grateful for whatever situation I'm in. I try to find the positivity no matter what, because the situation can always get worse. I'll have to excuse the fan in the background. I'm in the bathroom in the motel. And please excuse the lack of voice that I have, because we're fighting something. We all woke up with some kind of cough this morning. And I think that's just our bodies trying to adjust from the new environment and going back and forth.
Okay, here's the motel situation with the resilient Jenkins. As you can see, Stephanie has Drew peeling a few potatoes before he gets back to his 9 to PS5. Now, I don't know about y'all, but this looks a little bit unsafe to me. They have way too many things around this hot pot. I don't know, it's giving fire hazard. And then in the video, Stephanie is talking about tiny living, tiny home living with her 5 kids and her man. Are you kidding me? Tiny living? You've been doing tiny living for some time. I think it's time to do better. I don't think she's grasping the fact that her children literally need space. Why is she so persistent on squeezing her family into small shelters? She says that she wants to give her kids the life they deserve, but what is the life they deserve? And I'm not sure if y'all peeped it, but they got a baby in the car seat. I'm not sure if that's a baby doll or their child, but what are you doing?
Just when it seems like the Jenkins family has reached their lowest point, they somehow manage to take things even further. This time, the issue isn't just about Stephanie and Drew failing to provide stable housing for their children. It's about the outright dangers they are exposing them to. From moving into a rundown motel with serious safety concerns to turning their already cramped space into a fire hazard, their choices are becoming increasingly alarming. In her latest video, Stephanie opens with her usual talk about gratitude and staying positive, emphasizing how things could always be worse. While maintaining a positive mindset can be helpful, there comes a point where optimism turns into delusion. Instead of using positivity as motivation to improve her family's circumstances, she treats it as an excuse to stay stuck in dysfunction. In her mind, as long as her kids are smiling, nothing needs to change. But children can smile through anything. It doesn't mean they are okay. One of the most unsettling moments in the video comes when she casually mentions that everyone in the family woke up with a cough. Rather than acknowledging the seriousness of the situation, she dismisses it as their bodies adjusting to the new environment.
And this is exactly why I said I'll always remain grateful for whatever situation I'm in. I try to find the positivity no matter what, because the situation can always get worse. I'll have to excuse the fan in the background. I'm in the bathroom in the motel. And please excuse the lack of voice that I have, because we're fighting something. We all woke up with some kind of cough this morning. And I think that's just our bodies trying to adjust from the new environment and going back and forth. But let me get back to it. A little over a week ago today, I had a dishwasher that was somewhat working. I had a kitchen sink. I had a stove. I had a kitchen. Yeah, it was small, but it was more than what we're working with now. And a lot of you wanted to put down that situation that we were living in. I mean, albeit it was definitely not ideal for our size of a family we have now, but there was a lot of positivity about it too. And I think that's just because we had really spent the time to make that situation work for our family. While we were packing up the U-Haul, Drew and I noticed we really did have that place organized to fit for our family. Drew and I both really like the concept of a tiny home as long as it has well organization to it, but ideally said tiny home would be on a plot of land. Also, the tiny home that we envision has a space and a nook for everybody. Everybody's provided their own little private area. We still get to remain the close-knit family that we are. And that's just a little bit about our goals and how we try to stay positive in every situation we're in. Okay, bye-bye now.
The fact that her children, including a baby barely 3 months old, are experiencing persistent coughing is not something to brush off. This raises serious questions about the conditions of the motel. Could it be mold, poor ventilation, a buildup of dust and airborne toxins from constantly moving between cheap, substandard living spaces? Stephanie doesn't seem to consider any of these possibilities. Instead, she chalks it up as a minor inconvenience that they just have to get us to. The idea that young children, especially a newborn, should have to adjust to a worsening health condition is incredibly reckless. Babies have underdeveloped immune systems, and prolonged exposure to unhealthy environments can lead to long-term respiratory problems. A responsible parent would recognize the warning signs and take immediate action. Instead, Stephanie shrugs it off and moves on as if it's just another normal day in their household. But at what point does this stop being just another day and start becoming outright neglect?
She's filthy, cockroach infested, bed bugs, they don't clean, it's just not a good place for your kids to be. An extended stay hotel is usually horrible, but then also you might have to get 2 rooms because of the amount of people you have. Just for the trauma for your children is not worth it. Go to your mom's. Being homeless is so emotionally draining, and as the mom, you feel broken, like you can't do anything to fix it. But regardless, the health, safety, and welfare of your kids have to come first, and you do have something you could do about it. You do have somewhere you could go. Other people who might desperately need help and are deserving of it in the future, and she's going to taint people's goodwill And they're not going to want to help people in the future. Money from TikTok, from exploiting your children. You have money you've exploited from other people. So where is it going? Because subsidized housing is not that expensive. You could have paid your rent. We've got people out here supporting you, trying to help you, and you are fucking with their good intentions. Oh, I've been helped before. I have. And if I've been able to pay it back, I do. And if I couldn't, the money always went where it was intended to go from people's good intentions.
As the video continues, she shifts her focus to talking about her dreams for the future. She describes her vision of moving into a tiny house where everyone has their own little space but can still stay together as a family.
And at the end of the day, this woman chose to go live in a fucking hotel. I don't give a fuck what y'all say about me talking about this girl. She literally chose to live in a hotel instead of going to her mother's house. I don't give a fuck what her mom done did. It clearly wasn't that bad if she can't tell us what the fuck it is. Like, be so for real. You chose to put your children in a little ass hotel room, an even smaller place that they just came from, instead of taking them to your mother's house where I'm sure they would have had plenty of room. Any mother that chooses homelessness instead of going in with family, that's pure denial that y'all are defending this shit, and it's sick.
However, there's a glaring problem. She has 7 children. It's hard to imagine how she believes a tiny house will be a realistic long-term solution. While it might seem manageable while the kids are still young, what happens when they grow older and require privacy, space, and independence? The reality of trying to fit an entire family into a small, impractical living arrangement is something she completely ignores. Then there's the financial aspect of this supposed dream. Neither Stephanie nor Drew have stable jobs, yet she speaks about this future tiny home as if it's an inevitable reality rather than an unrealistic fantasy. Without any concrete income or savings, this isn't a serious plan, it's just another distraction from the real problem. Over the years, she has made countless ambitious claims about homesteading, self-sufficiency, and stability, but she has yet to take any real steps toward making those goals happen. This tiny home idea is just another version of the same unrealistic narrative she has pushed before, one that serves as an escape from addressing their actual financial struggles. Beyond the instability and poor planning, the most concerning part of their current situation is the outright safety risks they are creating within the motel room itself. As if living in an unsafe, unsanitary environment wasn't bad enough, they have now introduced new hazards with their reckless cooking setup. Instead of utilizing any available resources the motel might provide, Stephanie has decided to bring in her own appliances, a hot plate, and even more alarmingly, a deep fryer.
Stay-at-home mom, but my husband works. Like, at the end of the day, I don't have to make a dang thing on this app. I'm gonna be taken care of. My bills are gonna be taken care of. This house is gonna be taken care of. The kids are gonna be taken care of because my husband is working his butt off to do that. And if my husband couldn't work and he had to be at home with the kids, guess what? I'm gonna be working my butt off. I'm gonna go get a job, work overtime. If I have to get 2 jobs, I'm gonna get 2 jobs. I'm just not comprehending why one of you are not out there getting a job and working. It is not impossible. And you're choosing to have all these kids. So please don't blame the kids. Don't blame the kids. I think your husband or whatever he is, he needs to get up and go get a job. Because it's very sad that your kids are suffering because of the choices that y'all continue to make. And then you're getting here on social media and wondering why people have something to say to you. It's crazy. Oh my God. Please explain. Why are one of y'all not working? I don't understand.
At one point in her video, she is seen boiling food on the hot plate, surrounded by plastic bags and various items placed dangerously close to the heat source. Even the most basic understanding of fire safety would tell you that this is a disaster waiting to happen. However, she appears completely unaware of the risk. To make matters worse, she has positioned a deep fryer filled with oil right next to a power outlet, with a phone charger plugged in right beside it. This level of carelessness is beyond concerning. Statistically, over half of all hotel and motel fires are caused by in-room cooking. And here she is, using not 1, but 2 hazardous cooking appliances at the same time, in a small, overcrowded space filled with children.
Asking me, what does Drew do? He does a lot, but I have one device to create content on, and that's my phone, and usually my phone is being used to do a lot of mom things as well. Get as many clips as I can of me doing my thing. Oftentimes I really don't get as many clips of Drew doing what he's doing around the place. I think going forward he's going to start getting his perspective on the matter too. So prepare to see videos from Drew as well. For the life of me, I don't know why that's just gonna steam a bunch of you when you literally could just do what makes you happy too. Why is that so hard?
Deep fryers in particular can reach dangerously high temperatures of up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. If even a small amount of hot oil were to spill onto anything flammable, the consequences could be catastrophic. She is quite literally putting her entire family at risk for the sake of convenience. The most unsettling part of all this is that Stephanie does not seem to recognize the danger she is creating. Between the instability of their living situation, the ongoing health concerns, and the reckless disregard for safety, this is no longer just a case of struggling parents. It's becoming an outright crisis. Her choices continue to highlight a pattern of irresponsibility, and rather than making real efforts to change, she keeps finding ways to justify and normalize the dysfunction. The risk extends beyond the visible dangers. There's also a serious electrical hazard unfolding right before our eyes. Motel rooms are not designed to handle multiple high-power appliances running at the same time, yet Stephanie has set up a deep fryer alongside other electronic devices, all plugged into the same overloaded outlet. Deep fryers alone consume significant amounts of electricity, and when combined with other appliances, the potential for an electrical fire skyrockets. The scariest part, electrical fires often begin within the walls, meaning the danger can spread before anyone even notices. By the time the fire is visible, it's already too late. This level of negligence doesn't just put Stephanie and her children at risk, it endangers everyone in the motel. A fire sparked by her recklessness wouldn't be confined to just her room. It could spread rapidly, harming other guests and even nearby businesses. What we're seeing isn't just the result of financial hardship. It's not just about struggling circumstances. This is about Stephanie actively making choices that invite catastrophe. What makes this even more disturbing is the pattern of behavior emerging. Time and time again, Stephanie seems to lean into recklessness as if she thrives on the chaos it creates. Think about it, she repeatedly exposes her family's exact location online, making it ridiculously easy for strangers to track them down. She films herself washing dishes in a motel bathtub, not as a sign of hardship, but as quirky content to gain attention. And now, she's setting up an extreme fire hazard in a tiny, overcrowded space with her children just feet away. It's starting to feel less like carelessness and more like a calculated decision. Every time public interest in her situation starts to fade, something new and reckless happens. It's as if she feeds off the outrage, the concern, and the criticism. The more people react, the more extreme her actions become. At this point, it's not just poor decision-making, it's a self-perpetuating cycle of disaster. She consistently chooses instability over security, danger over common sense, and controversy over her children's safety. And worst of all, she doesn't seem to care. It's almost as if Stephanie is intentionally creating the most dramatic, high-risk scenarios possible just to generate content. And at the end of the day, it's her children who suffer the consequences. Speaking of which, let's talk about her priorities. Time and again, Stephanie has shown exactly where her loyalty lies, and it's not with her kids. Take last year, for example. Instead of saving money for a better living situation, she splurged on a brand new PlayStation and a gaming chair for her unemployed boyfriend, Ju. While he got to enjoy the comfort of a bedroom, her children were left sleeping on the kitchen floor. And when her mother offered her a safe, stable home for her and the kids, Stephanie refused the help. Why? Because her mother wouldn't allow Ju to come along. Let that sink in. She had an opportunity to provide her children with security, to break the cycle of instability, to finally give them a home, yet she turned it down. Not because it wasn't a good offer, but because her grown, jobless boyfriend wasn't included. This is not about doing what's best for her children. It's about keeping Ju in her life at all costs. This isn't just tolerance, it's full-blown enabling. Stephanie not only accepts Ju's refusal to work, she prioritizes his needs over her children's well-being. Instead of making smart financial decisions to improve their circumstances, she continues to put his comfort first. And the ones paying the price? Her kids. The motel they're currently staying in has a well-documented history of crime, multiple reported deaths, and unsanitary conditions. On top of that, Stephanie herself is making it an even more dangerous environment by introducing serious fire hazards. These children are growing up in a space surrounded by instability, criminal activity, and now a very real risk of a life-threatening disaster. And yet, Stephanie still sits in front of the camera preaching about positivity, as if that alone will magically fix their reality.